A normal president or this president? Because
This president.
they're pretty. He uses his element, his extraordinary skill at being able to draw attention to whatever thing he wants to, and his willingness to do it by crossing norms that no one else would. He says, "I'm going to take Rosie O'Donnell's citizenship away." Like, presumably he's not actually going to do that, but that's a news cycle that he bought himself. It doesn't seem to be working as well for him this time as it usually does, and I think there's some interesting reasons as to why that.
Lutnick was visible face of nation. Thank you, Margaret Brennan, for being with us. Besson was on the couch, I think, with the Death Star earlier this morning. Do his cabinet officers cajole him to focus?
I mean, as he tweeted out yesterday, right? Or people don't explain things to me, I explain things to people. So there was some of that happening in the first term, but in the second one, both because he selected people less willing to do that and because he himself seems less manageable, I think there's less of that happening. And there's also focus on what? The things that he wants to focus on. If there is anything that any policy position that Donald Trump actually believes in, it's tariffs. He's been consistent, maybe the only thing he's been consistent on since the 1980s. But the tariffs are not popular. If he's trying to distract from them, getting him to focus on them is not going to help their political problem at all.
So where are we? I mean, I guess the latest country or latest region of the world to focus on is the European Union. That seems like somebody we'd want to have a deal with. They would want to have a deal with us. Do we have any sense where that is?
You would think. I mean, the administration perpetually claims that they're on the verge of a deal, and today's headlines certainly don't look that way. I would say that the central problem is that the markets have created a self-negating prophecy, right? We always talk about self-fulfilling ones. Here's a self-negating one. Because the markets seem to believe that these things won't actually happen, they give Trump the space to do these things, which he will use. Like, if you cut Trump slack, he uses it always and without exception.
So if you're the market, if you're an average investor, how are you kind of discounting a lot of this, I guess, noise a lot of people refer to as coming out of Washington, D.C. here? What should investors be focusing on, do you think?
I would be me personally as a political person, political scientist, I would be a lot more concerned than the markets seem to be.
Okay, that's a good point.
The basic belief that people have that, he will not do this because it is not good for the markets is a level of constraint that I don't actually see in this administration. Just one quick example. Some of the things that he has done that will be sort of massively negative for American economic growth long term. For example, basically defunding the American scientific establishment. That's not reversible, right? Like, we can't just wave a magic wand and those those postdocs will spring out of the ground in a few years. But the consequences of that will be felt for a generation. Didn't slow him down. Yep. So the argument that he's not going to do it because it's bad for the economy, I don't buy it.
So is he a lame duck president? He's not behaving like one.
If you ask that once more today, it's a hat trick.
It is.
Of lame duckedness.
Exists.
It's also a great question.
Exactly.
Yeah. So lame duck presidencies happen for a very specific reason, right? Which is Stalin, who might have been evil but was very quotable, once said that gratitude is the virtue of dogs, right? So once a president gets reelected, once they're the second term, usually their control over the party starts to drop precipitously because people don't need them anymore, right? We're not running on the ticket. That's the one thing you can be sure will never happen again. But we have never seen, not even Franklin Roosevelt at his peak in the 1930s, we have never seen a president with this kind of control over a party.
Yep.
And as long as that is true, then the lame duck factor just isn't going to kick in.
Yep.
Anne-Marie Horton puts out here, thank you, Anne-Marie, South China Morning Post, the president might visit China before the APEC summit or meet President Xi on the sidelines of the summit in South Korea. The ancient history, which you covered in your wonderful books, is when in doubt, travel.
Yeah.
Is President Trump going to travel again? Is there any place he can go and be greeted?
Be greeted, Israel and maybe India, depending upon
Britain?
No, yeah, those might be the only two countries where he actually scores reasonably well, and even India is not that great for him at the moment.
So he can't redux his first term with the Pacific Rim. Had no way, I can't remember.
Second-term presidents always shift their focus to foreign policy, right? And partly that's a consequence of the lame duck effect because they have more power there. Partly it's because they're looking for legacy, and foreign policy is where they tend to think it happens. But that's harder for Trump because his particular interests seem to be more about culture war in the United States or domestic policy or immigration policy And none of those are things that he can make he can't move the football forward on that by going to Japan.